Tomorrow's Sunday, August 31st, is the first clash between Liverpool and Arsenal of this Premier League season. Both teams undergoing so many changes, and both teams starting off the season with 2 wins under their belt. Not without a little bit of struggle, of course. Obviously, Arsenal against Manchester United was a bit of a tough game for them. And then Liverpool, you know what I'm saying? But today, we're going to be giving a preview for tomorrow's game at Anfield. It's around 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, whatever British Standard Time it is. I think it's around 4:30 over there. We're going to be obviously watching that game live on TikTok and on YouTube. So you definitely want to tune in for that. But today, we're going to preview the lineups. We're going to talk about tactics. We're going to give our opinions as to score predictions, so on and so forth. So you definitely want to tune in. And welcome back to another episode of the Basement Ballers. I got Luke, resident Arsenal fan, a man who was already on the pod a couple of videos ago. So you already know him. We did a Premier League ranking a video, and that's where you might have seen him. He's also a frequent guest on TikTok lives and things of that nature, and a good friend. So he's going to be giving us the Arsenal side of things today, and I'm going to be giving you the Liverpool side of things today. So without further ado, Luke, why don't you kick the video off for us and let us know what you think.
Yeah, for sure. And yep, thanks for the brief introduction. I appreciate that. And I don't know, it's going to be a very interesting game. Liverpool, Arsenal, they're two sides that have had kind of a harder struggle within the first 2 games of the league. Liverpool, I think probably they've had a little more struggle in terms of how they've had a lot more changes to their team. They've had a lot more tactical structure to their team that's changed since last season, given that Trent's leave, given that they've gotten all these new signings versus the 10 now. So they have a sole 10. So I think that kind of like it's a very big transition for their defensive structure. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game. It's either I think it's going to be a very attacking game or a very defensive game. And that depends on each team, of course.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the way Arsenal's probably going to line up is, I think we're going to obviously do a 4-3-3 as we've always done. 2 eights, of course. I think Raya is going to be in goal. I think Calafiori got to keep the hot hand on. He's been getting a lot of goals, assists. Timber right back. Gabriel, Saliba as the center backs, and then 6 Zubi left center mid. Rice right center mid. I think Eze's going to be a big part because obviously Odegaard and Saka's injured. So I think Odegaard's not going to be that game. It's going to be Eze right center mid. Madueke, I think he'll have a great job for replacing Saka. We paid a lot of money for him. Gyökeres striker, and the Liverpool stopper Martinelli. Somehow he finally gets a goal against them.
Jesus, every time this brother runs down the wing, does a little cute little cut back, does some so on and so forth. So yeah, fair enough. I mean, the way I see Liverpool lining up, obviously keeping in mind that Frimpong for us is the major injury right now. So we obviously start with Alisson and net. Right back, there's a couple of options we have. We either have Connor Bradley, which I don't know how much he's ready to start, to be honest. We have been playing him off the bench as of recent. So what we might do is start Szoboszlai there, right? Because he put in a great shift against Newcastle on Monday. And then Konate and Van Dijk as our center back duo. Kirkes off the left. And then because we play in a 4-2-3-1, we'll have 2 major options. Either Gravenberch, Curtis Jones in that position, because Alexis McAllister is still like uncertain. And then I think he'll get some minutes. He's not gonna. I don't know if he's ready for the start in this kind of big game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Curtis Jones seems to be sort of favored by Arsenal at the moment. So we'll have him next to Gravenberch, Wirtz as like the 10. And then Gakpo, who's been playing well for us, Ekitike, who's been playing well for us, and then Mohamed Salah, of course, who already has, I believe, I want to say 2 GA, one goal, 1 assist for us. So it's that's how I think I see us lining up now. Based on that lineup, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna press. We're gonna try to press Arsenal, because I think what Arsenal are going to do in return is counterattack. That's how I see it going down. But I'm wondering what you think, Luke.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with that statement. I think obviously going to Anfield, that's always a very tough game for us since I think the last time we beat them was 12, 13 years ago at Anfield. So we got a poor record there, but in most recent time, past 3 games we played at Anfield, we got 3 draws. It's been 22-23. I feel like we kind of should have won that game. 23-24. I feel like you kind of should have won. 24-25 didn't really matter because I think the league was already over at that time.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I think we're gonna play more of a counterattacking game. I think this game depends on who scores the first goal. Because if Liverpool score the first goal, I think we're gonna be more expressive. But if we score the first goal, I think we're gonna, obviously do our Arteta low block, sit back for a little bit,
Hmm.
and hopefully we don't get conceded on. But no, I think the tactical structure is gonna be a very, very solid one for this game. I don't think we're gonna take a lot of like risks, chances, because obviously Saka Odegaard's out. Those are 2 very big attacking players. But no, I think a lot of the game's gonna rely on the set pieces, of course, because that's what we're number one known for at the moment. And then, yeah, I think it's the game's gonna be kind of about how we're gonna limit those Liverpool attacking players like Verts and Salah. If we could sniff them out in the game, I think we could potentially win. If not, I think we're going to get a draw. But I think a lot of Arsenal fans should have optimism for this game because we've past 3 times we haven't lost there. So I hope we could continue that run. Hopefully,
Yeah, no, it's definitely in terms of the Arsenal Liverpool matchup. It's definitely not a guaranteed result for Liverpool in this case. Obviously, Anfield is Anfield, but Arsenal have done quite well. Honestly, Arsenal have done pretty well against the Big Six in general over the last few seasons. So it's definitely a really hard matchup to predict, I would say. Um, Now, we were doing pretty well against Newcastle in defending set pieces, specifically Van Dijk. It was mainly just the counterattack that was obviously messing us up. You have Madueke and Martinelli running down the wings for you guys, um, presumably as a start. Martinelli, because of Martinelli's pace and his like kind of he is like he can be a bit crafty, so I think that also helps in sort of countering Liverpool. Um, which will be a challenge to deal with for sure. And obviously, you guys are really solid defensively. Um, so for us, I think the bread and butter is really just um, waiting for openings, trying to tire Arsenal out a little bit, and then capitalizing on mistakes essentially. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard to no pun intended to like penetrate that back line that you have. Um, but it's about like if we can just frustrate Arsenal, if we can sort of stop Arsenal from playing the game that they want to play, I think that Liverpool can score. Now, um, my biggest concern, and I've mentioned this already, is just how susceptible we've been to the counterattack. And Arteta, he's not like a slouch when it comes to sort of creating game plans for Liverpool. I think that's the best way to put it. So he's obviously going to be looking for that. You know what I mean? Um, if we go down 1-0, or if we let Arsenal score first, I think it'll be a really tough game for us. But that being said, I think we also have a lot of like positive pieces in our attack. A lot of players that can actually like do something for us attacking wise. So that dynamic will be pretty cool. Like Liverpool, are they able to press Arsenal enough to break down their defense, or is Arsenal just that solid in the back that they will just frustrate our attack? It'll be interesting to see. Also, Salah against Arsenal, against the Big Six, he has a really good record. So whether he will do something for us in that game. So Arsenal getting a lead on Liverpool, a lot more secure. Liverpool getting a lead on Arsenal, it's maybe a little
yeah,
less secure. You know. Overall, though, I think what I will predict is a 1-1 draw for this game.
yeah. I probably think that's the safest bet in my opinion. I think
Mm,
that's the trajectory that both teams have been on the past 3 years. So I mean,
mm,
it's the logical choice. I think it's
mm.
probably the public's choice too, in my opinion. But I think that Liverpool game's going to depend a lot about how they set up in general. Because from what I've watched both the Liverpool games. I watched the Newcastle game and I watched the Bournemouth game. And what I've seen from both of those games, I haven't been like I've been kind of like disappointed about like how Liverpool like structurally set up, because last year I don't think they were as susceptible for the counterattack as they are right now.
No, no.
Because, and
That
I think
was
that a
mm,
big thing about that is kind of how their wingbacks are. They got two new wingbacks. Robertson's not as involved, and Trent, he's gone. So right back's gonna be Bradley or Frimpong. Frimpong when he's back healthy. But this game, Soboslai did a good job. I think Soboslai's gonna be there. Invert, be kind of more of a four-man midfield or three-man midfield, depending on how Verts goes up. And Kirk, as he's going to try to shift into a left center back, and I think that's probably going to be where you guys are going to have the most issues with that. So I think what Liverpool kind of should do was try to take control of the game and try to play more in the middle as possible, so they don't get exploited in the wingbacks. But and another thing, I think Verts is obviously, he's a very new player. He just came into this league. But as I mentioned before, Liverpool are playing with a pure number 10 now. Something they really haven't done in the past few years, because they played always a three-man midfield, always try to get the control. But when you play with that pure 10, you kind of lose a lot of defensive stability too. So I think this game's going to be like a yin and yang with attack and defense. And yeah, I guess we got to see what happens. But Arsenal
mm,
too, we gotta exploit those weaknesses, because you never know. We could,
mm,
we won't be on our day and we won't score a goal. We could lose 2-0. So
mm.
this game could go any other way, in my opinion.
Yeah. So for me, I think now would be a good time to discuss maybe some X factors for each of our teams. So I guess I'll lead that discussion. So for me, I think um, if Sabazla can maintain his form, for example, that he did against Newcastle, the work rate's there, his defensive work rate, obviously his ability to advance play is there. From that side, so I'm not really too worried about from that right back position. Center back wise, Arnslot did have an interview where he talked about Konate. He said obviously that there are things to improve, but sometimes what happens is when you introduce such a new partner for a center back, obviously on his right side, the dynamic shifts, and maybe there's not that any of the players are bad, but that the confidence in the player that you're playing next to could be sort of an impact. You know what I'm saying? So that could be having an effect on Konate. Obviously, we know that the Real Madrid stuff, and maybe that's the main speculation that happened with Trent. Maybe it's happening with Konate. I don't know. I don't want to like sort of push that really obscure narrative at the moment. The only thing that I'll say is that Konate is the weak link in our defensive line right now, in our center back line, I should say more specifically. Um, and he needs to be more ready. Now, Konate hasn't played that, like, he's been pretty good against Arsenal, I feel. So hopefully he can maintain that. Hopefully maybe he can take a little less risks. That's one way to sort of prevent him from being exploited. Pause. Van Dijk is Van Dijk, solid. I'm not really too concerned about him. We have our new signing on the left, Kirkez, who I wouldn't call him disappointing. So I wouldn't say disappointing, but I still feel like there's more to his game that I want to see. So depending on how he plays, I think he could be an X factor. Going into the midfield, I don't really expect too much from Curtis Jones, to be honest. Like, with all the respect to that brother, Gravenberch for me is the real sort of point of focus in that pivot, because if Gravenberch has a good game, we have a good game. If Gravenberch has a bad game, the game's fucking gone. So Gravenberch will be important to look at. Wirtz, if he can show up and play the way that we know he can, obviously a big X factor for Liverpool. The problem is that the way that Newcastle were kind of approaching him, they were really suffocating him. And although he's a good player in tight spaces, the press and the pressure in the Premier League is obviously different gravy. So I think that's what's taking him the longest time to adjust to. So hopefully, and I know that that's what Arsenal are going to exploit for sure. But hopefully, with a little bit more game time under his belt, he's been able to adjust and adapt. And if he has, I think that's is like something really scary that Arsenal will have to deal with. Salah. I mean, he might look a little labored at times during the game, but somehow pop up with the GA, and I mean that's what we need him to do anyway. So Fair play to him. This will be Ekitiki's first Big Six game. So he's obviously had 3 goals in 3 games for Liverpool. Whether he'll be able to link up the way that he has and finish the way that he has, or whether the big moment will be too hard on him, is yet to be seen. But I'm pretty confident in him. And then Gakpo, to be honest, I don't feel like anything phases that brother. Big game, small game. He has an eye for goal, and he's honestly pretty clinical from many different angles on that on that left side. So yeah, so that's and then Allison. I didn't mention Allison, but Allison is not something that I really worry about too much. But how about you, brother?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think a lot of Arsenal right now are just kind of vulnerable because a lot of these players are that we're going to start are untested against teams like these, and for Arsenal just in general.
Mm,
I think probably the biggest X factor in that game would be Gyökeres for sure.
mm,
Because I think if you guys do a really good job on Gyökeres, what Liverpool should do is they should have one of Konate or Gravenberch. They should just man marking Gyökeres, follow him everywhere he goes. Because I think if Gyökeres doesn't get if he's not involved in the play or he doesn't pop up with a goal, it's going to be very hard for Arsenal to make something with an open play in that game because Saka and Odegaard are out of that game, who both usually do well against Liverpool. And Martinelli, this is going to be, I think this would be his first start in the league this year. So I think it's going to be what's it called? It's going to be tough to try to find something in open play if you guys phase out Joker as well, with one of Gravenberch or Konate man marking him. I think another X factor in this game would probably be Calafiori, because I think he's someone that you never know with Calafiori. He could try to get a long shot in. He could get a good shot. He could be defensively vulnerable because you never know with Calafiori as well because he's a very expressive player. He reminds me a lot of like a little Vardio, but just like more like smooth and dribbling.
mm.
But not as proven as well because he's been really injured a lot. But another one would probably be Declan Rice, someone that could put in the final ball, someone that could be a very good advantage from free kicks and corners for Gabriel, another X factor to try to get that goal. But I think a lot of it's going to have to do with how we use Jokeres because we all know Jokeres almost got 100 league goals in the he almost got 100 goals in 2 seasons with Sporting, and
Hmm.
that's something that's not talked about enough. Even though it's
Mm.
the Portuguese league, it's top 7 league in the world in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I think the way that you guys set up to try to stop Gyökeres is going to make it a more difficult game for us because Gyökeres is going to be that he's not going to be as involved in build up plays. So I feel like if he doesn't get a goal, he's not going to he's going to be phased out the game. But yeah, a lot of X factors as a first start too. So it just depends on how a lot of these players, new players, set up against Liverpool, and it just depends on how you guys set up against us to try to phase those players out of the game.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And you know what? Like that's also something really important that you just said is that Arsenal going into this game are experimenting quite a bit relative to I'm sure Arteta even wants to do, right? I think attacking wise is probably your weakest point, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's the obviously the sheer number of changes that you have there, or whether it's just the options you have to come off the bench for you, in those positions. I think that'll be pretty tough for you guys. Mostly, we don't question you guys defensively. Jury Timber has had himself one hell of a start to your season. So for me, somebody I definitely worry about. Obviously, I worry about the Salibas and the Gabriels of the world, but Timber, I think he's been like dark horse in a way for you. Calafiori, you could probably say that is something similar. He's been obviously had a solid start to the season with a goal against United, and then I think he got 2 assists
Yeah. So yeah.
against Leeds. So yeah, you have a lot of things. I just think that like right now for Arsenal, if I'm analyzing from a Liverpool's fans perspective, is that attack doesn't seem too deep or too prolific. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Gyökeres' first game against the Big Six club, it's definitely a lot for anybody coming into the Prem. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. But yeah, overall, I do think it's like it's kind of like a battle of not two halves, but
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be like a yin and yang.
yes,
So
exactly right. So Liverpool attacking wise, I'm confident. Defensively, Arsenal attacking wise, like
yeah,
but defensively, Jesus,
offensively, yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? So it'll be interesting to see. All right, Luke. So I think the best way for us to sort of conclude our discussion here is why don't we do a cute little Arsenal versus Liverpool combined 11, but obviously with emphasis of using the players that we've already mentioned. Obviously, if you throw in Saka, you throw in Odegaard is different. But just
yeah.
the players that we think are going to be available going into tomorrow's game. So we'll start off obviously in goal, Allison versus David Raya.
I'll give it to Alisson because I think
Yeah.
he's an all timer keeper in my opinion. He could be
Mhm.
potentially top five by the time his career gets done. So
Yeah.
I think it's got to be Alisson. He's one of the most important players for you guys for this Liverpool era. I think he's had a lot of. He hasn't been talked about enough because I remember in 18-19 in Napoli, the last game, he had that incredible performance. He stopped Napoli from scoring 2-3 goals with Hamsik Insigne, and that evidently led you guys to winning the Champions League that year. So I
Mhm.
think Alisson's got to be in goal for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for those same reasons. Obviously, David Raya, no slouch. I think Allison's a
Yeah,
better shot stopper though in general, and just old reliable. I'll call him. All right, let's move on to right back. So for us, I put forward Sabazlai and my right back position. You have Timber there. I'll start with this one. I think it goes to Timber, not because I love
yeah,
Sabazlai and I think that had a solid start to the season, but Timber's just a more all and out and out right back. Um,
yeah. And I think it's Timber for me too
mhm,
because last season I think he was the best right back in the league, playing 1-38.
mm,
Obviously, Reece James, quality wise, he could be up there, but the last time he played over 20 league games was probably 21, 22, in my
mhm.
opinion. So it's yeah, I think it's Timbers for me.
Okay. And then we have Saliba versus Konate for the first center back spot. I think this is a no brainer as well. Goes to Saliba
Yeah,
for me, especially after Konate's like recent form. Um, I even at their best, I still think it's Saliba,
yeah,
but yeah. So I think for I think we would agree on that, right?
yeah. No, for sure. I think probably the biggest edge that Konate has against Saliba would be probably aerially. I think that's probably the biggest edge he has. I
Mm,
think in terms of building the ball at the back, in terms of passing it out, in terms of recovery pace, like just partners being a partner. I think he's probably a better fit for. I think that's probably better for Saliba.
hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. All right, then we have Van Dyke versus Gabriel. For me, Gabriel, no slouch, of course. And you could even argue that Gabriel might have had an even better season than Saliba last season before he got injured.
Yeah,
Not even just a defensive like sort of wall, but an attacking threat. You know what I mean?
that pieces.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Set pieces and obviously his heading ability. Pause. Those are all really good for sort of attributes of Gabriel, but Van Dyke is Van Dyke, so I'm going with
yeah.
Van Dyke.
I'll probably say the same. Van Dyke. He's probably had a very very big reputation in the game.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, he could be some people think he's the best center back ever. I don't necessarily agree because I think in terms of center back, you gotta factor in a lot of other things rather than just being a footballer. Rather than because nowadays I think it's more about being a footballer than being an actual defender. But in terms of all time standing, I think it's got to be factored into both ends. But yeah,
Yeah,
outside of that, Van Dyke center back.
yeah. Well, to add on to that, I think Premier League wise, you can have a discussion for sure.
I know for
And
sure.
for
I'm saying
me,
both.
like Terry and Van Dyke are like 1A, 1B Premier League wise, right? But
Yeah,
when
I
you
think.
go all time, you start getting into the Maldini, the Sergio Ramos.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
it's of course a discussion for another day. But yeah, Van Dyke still there. He had a really good
Fun
performance
fact.
against Newcastle. His performance against Bournemouth wasn't amazing for sure. But he's still Van Dyke, and his leadership, his composure is unmatched. So I'll go with Van Dyke. You go with Van Dyke. Cool. Moving on to left back, we have Calafiori versus
Yep.
Kirkez. And I think we'd both agree on this one too. But you go on for this. You say yours.
Yeah, I think Kirk has had a very good season for Bournemouth, probably a top 3 left back in the league last year. But I think in terms of footballing ability, it's got to be I think it's got to be Calafiori. Calafiori is a very very strong player. He's a very he's someone that could do very well against the other team and attackingly, but defensively he does have some vulnerabilities. But in terms of being a footballer, I think it's Calafiori. He didn't play a lot of games last season, but him at his best, Kirk is at his best. I think I'm taking Calafiori.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, especially going on the form that both have sort of presented in the first 2 games, I would tend to agree. So I'm going with Calafiori as well. So just in that back line, we have 2 Arsenal players. No, three Arsenal players and 2 Liverpool players. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Then moving on to the midfield. I mean, we don't really line up the same, so this one might be a bit tricky. But we could say, let's say for our first comparison's sake, Zubimendi versus Gravenberch.
Zubimendi, Gravenberch. I mean, in terms of how I think they'll play for Arsenal, I think it's Zubimendi. But in terms of how they've actually been performing at the top level, I think it's going to be very hard to disagree with Gravenberch in my opinion. I think as a DM, he did a very good job last year, but for judging the player in that position itself, I think he's got to be more than 1 season. But Zubimendi, this is his first big club he's been at besides Sociedad. But yeah, I think Gravenberch takes it for me with DM.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know what? This is coming from somebody who's obviously seen Zubimendi perform at a very high level for Arsenal so far. So it's not a slight on him by any means. And I think that he's definitely going to be really important for you going into like the deeper runs in the season. Gravenberch, though, you know, obviously his second season at Liverpool was just outstanding. Some argue that he was the best DM in the Prem, a position that a lot of people doubted he could play. And obviously, he already has a goal for Liverpool this season, so that adds to his case. So I'm going with Gravenberch. Moving on to, I guess we could say, number 8. I know you play with 2 8s,
you want to do right center mid?
we could do right center mid.
Who do you
So
have there, Jones?
yeah, I suppose Curtis
Yeah,
Jones.
Then I got Eze there.
Okay. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know, so Eze gets in there for me as well. I guess is for you. And Eze, a guy who actually doesn't performs pretty well against Liverpool. So that's something I don't know if we touched on that, but for Crystal Palace, he hasn't really had a problem with performing against Liverpool. And I do think overall he's the better player. Curtis Jones, he has his moments. I think it's just the consistency for him that really frustrates some of us Liverpool fans. So we'll go with Eze for that one. And then Wirtz versus Rice, I guess.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah,
That's it's a tough one, but obviously Premier League proven wise, if you're going to be completely unbiased and obviously what they presented so far in the season, it has to go to Rice.
Oh, really? Oh, I got it.
Well, I mean, no, I'm like completely no bias. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I'm being on my. I think Vert's a better footballer, but I don't know. It's because they're two very different players. One is a
they are.
box
It's
to
hard to
box, and
compare.
one's probably more in the final third, kind of a winger a little bit. Vert's. I would have thought you'd say Verts. I swear, I was getting Verts in the back of my mind, but
I would have rather have had. Let me tell you, like I would have rather instead of the Jones to Eze comparison, I would have rather had the Rice to Jones comparison. I would have taken Rice there, and then Eze versus Wirtz would have been my other comparison because like 2 10s, I guess.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do
Okay,
that.
all right. So then,
I was doing kind of strict formation, but I mean, one's an 8, one's a 10.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of fair to have Rice and Verts. I think we got to have that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think that's more fair.
So yeah, so then midfield trio will be Gravenberch, Rice, Wirtz.
Yes,
okay,
that's good.
Cool.
I'll take that.
Starting on the right, let's just not debate it. Right, like with all
I don't know, bro. Madueke, man. He's more techie.
Oh shit, he's techie.
He's techie, yeah, bro. London Roadman, bro.
London Roadman.
Oh,
he's playing for Arsenal in them mans now, huh?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, we got it, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously, I can't really say too much on him. Chelsea, in and out of the team. He's had some good moments. I know he had a hat trick against God, I can't remember. But
Wolves.
huh?
Wolves.
Wolves, hat trick against
Yeah.
Wolves. So that's
Yeah.
probably the highlight of his Chelsea tenure.
Yeah.
But overall, still not enough to even bring him to like lace Salah's boots. Let's be
Yeah.
serious. So let's just do that. Then we'll go left wing. So Gakpo versus Martinelli.
Yeah. Another obvious one, Gakpo. I think Gakpo's probably your X factor in that team, bro, because he's someone that could score in and out of the box, left and right foot, header or on the floor. So he's someone that always, like last year, so when Salah wasn't he was performing a lot of the games, but
Mm,
when you guys needed a goal, a lot of times Gakpo was there. Like
mm,
against Brighton when he scored that long shot to start it out, then Salah scored the second goal.
mm,
But without Gakpo, it's going to be very hard for you to win some of those games. But I
yeah.
think Gakpo did a very good job. I think he's probably left wing, even if even if Eze plays there, that Gakpo's still there in my opinion. He's one of the best in the league at left wing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, he's really hard to game plan for just because like he might be one of the most nonchalant dudes in the entire league. This brother just like he'll score a goal, he'll do his little like salute celebration and then move on with his life. Sometimes he scores out of nothing, which is really like what I like about him as well. So really important piece for us going into tomorrow. But I'll take Gakpo there, and then finally, last but not least, striker
The biggest one.
and arguably one of the biggest comparisons that we're going to see throughout the season. Because let's not get it twisted. Arsenal versus Liverpool this season will be part of that
Yeah,
title race,
yeah. No,
right?
I think we're 1-2 honestly.
Mm. So that being said, the big
I think we should make our case for each, and I think
yes.
you should start.
So I'll start. Obviously, I'm backing my boy Ekatike. The way that he's linked up with the rest of the boys, the way that he's sort of come into the team, felt so natural. The chemistry he already has with the players, and his willingness to work, his love for the club. Of course, obviously these are side factors, but his willingness to work really hard throughout the game, and obviously output. Output speaks for itself. 3 goals in 3 games, 2 Premier League goals. And some nice ones
One
too.
your
So
shield, yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm back in Akatike. I think that he's really coming to the side and shut the mouths of a lot of haters who thought he might just be a Darwin Nunez regen. So for that reason, Akatike. But you go on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised about that. I don't think there's necessarily a wrong opinion. I think it's kind of who you favor.
Mm,
But in terms of what Liverpool need, I think they need Ekitike. For what Arsenal need, they need a Gyökeres. But for me, I think Gyökeres does take the win for me, and I'll explain why. Right from the beginning of this transfer saga, this messy transfer saga with Sporting, Gyökeres was willing. He deducted some of his transfer fees, wages. He said, "Here you go, Sporting. Let me go to Arsenal." His agent did the same exact thing. He's like, "I don't care what it takes. I want Gyökeres to go to Arsenal." Right? And I mean, everyone was looking at him at the end of the day too. There wasn't a lot of strong links, but Gyökeres was there in the market. And I think United and Juventus were probably the biggest two that I could think of. But people were looking at Gyökeres, and Gyökeres was before Isak apparently was available. I think he was the best, most available striker on the market. Ekitike, he did decent for the Bundesliga, but he got 15 goals in the Bundesliga. I think he more of what he was about was that link up play with Marmoush, and obviously Marmoush at City, Ekitike at Liverpool. But Gyökeres for me, he's when you talk about a striker, I think he gives you what you want. I think he gives you goals. I think in the past 2 seasons, he almost got 100 goals. He got almost 130, 140 GA in those 2 seasons. And I know he scored against for Sporting Liga NOS, Portuguese league, but in the Champions League was a big show to how good he actually is.
mm-hmm,
Right? He had very massive performances against Stuttgart. He scored a hat trick against City, got 6 goals in 8 Champions League games. The biggest club competition you could possibly play in. He got 6 goals in those 8 games, which is very almost the goal game outputs. I think it's very impressive. And I think that City game shows the type of player he is, that he could perform against these top teams. He could do this, he could do that. And a lot of people they like to say he only scores against the lower half of the league. But when we look at Arsenal, they don't have a problem against the top half of the league. They need to break those lower half teams in the league. They need to get every win against 10th to 20th. And the past few years, 22, 23, we had that horrid run against Southampton and
West Ham
against
and
Southampton and
Forest, I
West
believe.
Ham and Forest. Yep,
Yeah.
Forest. We lost 2-0 too as well. Last year in the Champions League, we against PSG. I remember first half of the game, Saka puts in two beautiful balls to the back post. Pause. He does it. Donnarumma can't catch it. The defenders can't get to it. You know what the ball does? It keeps rolling. It rolls out for a throw in. You know what I think would have been the best player for that? I think Gyökeres. I think if we had Gyökeres in that game, we go to the Champions League final, in my opinion. So yeah, I guess you could clip that one. But I think for me, what Gyökeres offers for you in a striker, left foot, right foot, not obviously not as much in the air. They're both kind of iffy, but I think what you want in a striker, Gyökeres gives you. But for both teams, I think that we have very good suits for both teams.
Mhm. Fair enough, my friend. So that is literally the only position
That we
that
have
we
like a
differ.
like a like a disagreement, and
That
it's
we
not
have a
even like a
disagreement.
disagreement. It's a preference,
It's a preference. So just to summarize, for me, I have Allison,
Yeah,
Van Dyke, Gravenberch, Wirtz,
yeah,
Salah, or basically so seven. I have seven Liverpool players in my.
yeah, yeah. I got Calafiori, Saliba, Timber, Rice, 4. And I think I think this combined 11 would be different if we had full we didn't have as many injuries right now, because I think we got Havertz injured right now. We have Saka and Odegaard. Saka would be a more interesting debate, but all in all, I think the past few years Liverpool have had a better starting 11,
Mm.
but for how they play together, I think that's where we've had the real rivalry with Liverpool, and I think it's kind of where we've gotten the edge in the past few years. Not last season, but previous seasons.
And so the question now becomes, Luke, to wrap up this video, is this the season of Arsenpool? Or is this the season where other teams might come into play, like Manchester United, for example? Tune in to the Premier League this season and tune into tomorrow's game, the watch along on YouTube, Twitch, and on TikTok, where
Real
we're going
quick,
to be. Yeah, go on.
score predictions. Just to
Score
just to
predictions.
cap it on.
I say 1-1.
1-1. I'll say I think Arsenal win 2-0. I think the game comes out with we score the opener, we sit back, I think we score a consolation. I think
Okay.
2-0.
Fair enough. Well, so guys, with that being said, obviously these videos are here to encourage you to comment and to share your opinions on everything that we discussed about today, not just the score predictions. So comment down below. Make sure you check out Luke on TikTok, who's going to be a frequent guest on this platform, Basement Ballers. It's always been a pleasure, Luke.
Yeah.
And yeah, Arsenal, Liverpool tomorrow, Sunday, August 31st, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Tune in. We'll see you there. All love and peace out.
Peace.